Yes. Welcome, everyone. Once again, we're blessed. It's a beautiful day here at Impact Masters Podcasts and Africa's Talking Podcasts, bringing you exclusive guests. The man himself, the doctor. He has done amazing things in this tech ecosystem. So we're continuing the tech ecosystem conversations. And today we have one and only Dr. Gilbert Saggia. Dr. Gilbert Saggia, how are you?
I'm all right. Thank you, MK.
It's good to have you today. And, your work precedes you. Before I knew about you, actually, I got to get into conversation with Teddy Warrior. And he said, there's this person you need to talk to. I was like, who is this person? He said, number one, and we'll get there, you are charge. And I want to know about charge in full, so prepare that. And also, I want to know what makes that journey to make Dr. Gilbert Saggia and the contribution you have immensely on the tech ecosystem up to where we are. You have worked with national corporations. You have worked with the big tech giants in the world. And you're still actually putting in work to ensure that the tech moves from where we are to the next level. I see also you're dedicated to making sure that Africa succeeds as an ecosystem, especially in tech. But before we get to that, maybe I'll just read one of the things that was interesting in one of your portfolio here, which you are calling objective. I've never seen someone who has an objective as good as this. So, Dr. Gilbert Saggia objective is, having led various global multinationals, focus is to direct this executive management and operational leadership experience towards developing Africa, especially in value chain transformation using digital business, data-driven innovation growth, and by advising C-suites and boards on Industry 4.0 innovation in emerging markets. Simply an impact change driver for Africa's transformation agenda using globally acquired skills and experience in strategic planning, leadership, and business management. A loaded objective, that one. Now, who is Dr. Gilbert Saggia?
MK, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
First of all, may I know what MK stands for?
Michael Kemadi.
Michael Kimadi.
Yes.
So should I call you Kimadi?
Actually, I like introducing myself at the end of the conversation.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Michael, I'm not sure who wrote that or whatever it is you read, but let's go for it. But before I get there, like I said, thank you so much. And also thank you to Teddy for having me. And I've always known Teddy to exaggerate a few things. So I'm not sure what he really exaggerated on this one, but I think maybe it's a lot.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, these are lies?
No, I wouldn't want to say Teddy's lying, but I'm just saying, he never lies, right?
Yes.
But he's not to kind of salt it a little bit. But that's his nature, right? And that's why he's so inspirational and has done so much and continues to be quite a change driver in Africa. Yeah. So, like you've mentioned, life for me, and the way I look at it, it's a journey towards the following. But before I get to that, it's more, you're born and you get into a stage. And when you get onto a stage, when you're born, everybody's clapping. And you want to make sure that when you leave, everybody's still clapping.
Yeah.
You get born, everybody is very happy. And exit, everybody needs to be happy.
Yeah.
But during that time of getting onto this stage and leaving the stage of life, you're going to have impact.
Yeah. In between
imagine if you're on a stage and you're in a play and nobody remembers you.
Sad moment, that.
Nobody remembers you. Yeah. So maybe the player's got 20, 30 people on that stage and nobody can figure out who you are. Yeah. It's a tragedy because it means it's like you didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key principle I've always, looked at it. And life is a journey. And you make sure that you have impact on the stage the way you are. And you leave it better than you found it. Yeah. And when you exit, hopefully, there's at least one person clapping, other than your parents, or
not your wife or
siblings or your
children.
relatives,
Okay.
right? Or your
Yeah,
relatives.
yeah.
Hopefully, there's somebody clapping, other than your relatives. But that's the key principle I've always used. But in that, life is a journey. Then it means that, like any other journey, sometimes you don't know when you stop.
Yeah.
You don't know when you accelerate. But you got to embrace everything.
For sure.
Right? It might not be well defined. Like you like it to be.
Yeah.
People say, tell God your plans and He'll show you a few miracles. Right?
Yeah,
or
for
a few
sure.
surprises.
Yeah.
But you got to embrace all of that journey gives
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So now talking about life, where did your life begin?
When I was born, right?
Where was this? I want to know about that, because this is what they say about most of the people, actually, if not all,
Right.
that most of the decision and even the way you perceive life, it actually formed in your early stage in life, either consciously or subconsciously, and even the way you make decision actually is influenced by the experiences that you passed through growing.
Good point.
And if you ignore that part, sometimes most people get lost along the way by realizing that either they demean themselves to an extent that they feel like they don't have much impact in life, or they, have overconfidence whereby they find themselves, doing things that actually are out of order and that kind of stuff. So for me, in this context, and because what we're doing here today is to try and shape the history of Africa as it is, because I'm sure there is a guy somewhere in the remotest part of this continent who can figure out what tomorrow will look like. And if he has that Dr. Saggia with all these accolades and achievements, they started at this point. And I don't know where you started. That's what I want to know. And I've talked to people who had privilege and they learned something from that, and they impacted the world from that point of view. So they learned something from that, and also they're able to see where does that take them.
Correct. Just one thing you mentioned in terms of overconfidence.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough. There's anything like overconfidence. Right? I think if there's anything that Africa or African people really like, is that confidence. I think it's better to be overconfident to be not to even have it.
Yeah,
right? And that's one thing that I do see. If you compare, folks in Africa with those in the West or even in the East, right?
Yeah.
There's always this thing that Africans are not as comfortable in the element as the others are.
Yes.
And the others are much more confident with half the knowledge, right? You get an African with much more knowledge, much more experience, but they don't have that confidence.
Absolutely.
So sorry, MK, I didn't intend to correct that, but I just picked on it because it's something that I've always mentored the younger people to really up their game when it comes to the confidence ladder.
Yeah.
But take a couple of steps back several years ago, decades ago, so to speak. Say my age, right? They say life begins for you as an individual and you're formed when you're 5 or 7 years old, right? What I remember mostly about my childhood is I think I was a bit entrepreneurial, right? I could start whatever businesses, small I could, even before I was 10 years old, on a couple of things. Right? So I built my entrepreneurial spirit way back when I was still quite young. And that has always been at the back of my mind, or call it in the DNA, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you said something that maybe I don't I've achieved, but I don't think I've achieved even half of what I will call it, I will aim for, or I'm looking for, or I'll be happy with, right? But then again, you never really achieve everything you achieve. It's
for
a
sure.
Journey,
Yeah.
Wherever that journey ends, great.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's enough life to achieve what I would like to achieve, right? In terms of what impact. But that's the thing, right? You hand the baton on to somebody else for the next 100 years. They continue, the next. That's how humanity goes.
Yeah.
So right then, I think from a childhood perspective, I used to be those guys who were a little bit maybe too serious. That I think has not left me up to now.
So what do you mean by too serious?
I think I took life too seriously, even at an early age.
Yeah.
Right. I look at, folks we grew up with. I think they had fun. Right? I didn't have that much fun.
Yeah.
even when we went to university, I don't think I had that much fun. And I think maybe, in my resume, or Teddy just alluded back when we were chatting, is even through university, I was working already, right? And therefore, I had literally zero time to do what normal teenagers will do or late teens will do when you're in university, right? And it wasn't easy work, right? What you call people work, the kind of work someone will do 8 to 5.
Yeah.
So all through when I was young until teenage and even after, I think maybe I've always taken life very seriously. I learned much later through a few mentors that I need to relax a little bit. So that's always for me a work in progress.
Yeah.
In terms of smile a little bit more. Life is never that serious.
Have a conversation.
Right, have a conversation with MK like I'm having right now.
Yeah.
Those who are not really, really Gilbert, right, to be quite honest.
Were you an introvert?
I believe so. But it's something that, we can always learn to embrace life in its fullness. But I think if we're sitting in a crowd, I don't be that person that you point out and say, hey, that's a noisy guy, that's this guy, right? But of course, when it came to class, I wasn't an introvert, right? I think I wasn't an introvert when it came to that. But when it comes to social circles, I was with that person that...
the guy who just stands in the corner and watch.
Back and just watch what's going on and see what,
And this is interesting because I was like that until I joined university. So it's opposite, I think, or maybe it's the same experience. For me, I didn't find it really important to say anything or to share anything, even actually to contribute anything, because basically how things were, it was like I felt, you know what, I just want to be an educated guy. My ticket in life is education.
Exactly.
In other words, in every definition. So I didn't find why should I play football? Why should I, go there and play games and all this stuff or contribute in anything? But I realized when I joined university that you might be this brilliant, you have the ideas, but if you don't package them and present them, then they're as good as useless.
Exactly.
So I started learning that as I go. I'm still learning by there until today. I don't know if that was experience for you and if there is this moment that you realize, okay, I don't want to contribute. I just want to focus, maybe reading books. I don't want to maybe focus with chess. Or I hear you started programming really early in your career. So what was that one thing that used to take your mind away from the normal social context?
So I guess I was lucky. Let me put it that way, right? I was lucky that I got into tech a little bit early. And I think, why do I say lucky? It's just, I didn't do anything special to learn into it, right? Maybe it just fell in front of me by luck.
What do you mean? That sounds so...
I will put
so
it that
clear.
way, right? Because there's nothing specific that I would say that I particularly did,
or
right?
planned,
That's different from anybody else at that, when I was a teenager, right? So probably, maybe what I went extra is that I was curious, right? That I could do this. And I decided I'm going to self-teach myself to do this. And then when in high school, I'm like, how about I figure out how to do homework by writing programs that do the homework, right? I guess it's just curiosity, but I'm taking it back from, to the actual part where a Commodore 64 sits in front of me. That is luck, right? That is luck. I can't say it's something I did, right?
Yeah.
But I just said, I want to be curious about this. I want to take it to the next level. Not just play games with it, but can I write stuff that can, reside on it? So from those old languages, I think if I mention them right now, people will be like, okay, what is it?
Cobol, Pascal,
those
Visual
ones, right?
Basic.
Exactly. No, even before Visual was there.
Oh, okay. That's Cobol, Pascal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I started off with that, right? And I think that enabled me to have two personalities. The first personality is the education side. And the second one is that I started to build early the mindset of showing results. Because when you write a program or you do something, you're trying to solve a problem and somebody else must appreciate that problem. Not
and
just
they should understand it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they appreciate that problem. And they don't care how you wrote it, right? All they want to say, did you solve this problem?
Yeah.
And that, for me, was quite useful because count years later, when I landed with another friend of mine as well. Now I met him there though, as interns, right, at Siemens.
Yes.
I found a problem and I decided, I'm going to write a program to solve this problem without me being asked. And I spent sleepless nights for almost a month in writing a program that solved that problem for the company and made them a few coins, right? Without being asked.
Yeah.
Because that mindset was already built earlier on that, hey, you can show results and people can see the results of what you do, if you get involved in this kind of stuff. So that dual focus became quite useful, right? Yeah. And therefore, as much as we've, really, follow on academics and everything else, great. But I cared a lot about what is the result, what's the impact at the end of the day.
So you focus more on putting in work and less noise.
Exactly. But, let's be quite honest, right? What do you really miss, right? What do you really miss? What did I really miss when it comes to the social side of it?
You miss a lot.
I'm not too sure about that because you can always have that.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think you could go to high school funkies, which you used to call funky when you are not in high school. You couldn't write letters to girls in high school when you're not in high school.
But to write a letter takes you 5-10 minutes. So are you going to dedicate 3-4 hours of your day every single day to write a letter? I think you can still have that, but you focus on what can grow you as a person.
That's right.
I think you can have the social part of it, but it can't be the overriding factor because you only have a certain time, I think, in life to build the foundation.
True.
Beyond that foundation you can build. It's gone. Right? So I will more emphasize, if anybody was to ask me, I will say, focus more on building the foundation when the foundation needs to be built. You can't build the foundation or I want to build a strong foundation and you're already putting the roof.
The roof is, it doesn't make sense.
It's not going to work. Now I want to build a 6-story, but no, your foundation was for a single story. You'll never go far, True. You're only as strong as the foundation you put when you needed to put a foundation. So, I will say, I didn't miss much in that manner, right? You can see how many billionaires on the planet right now, right? And they still look like they have fun on their yachts, right? But if you went all the way back when they're building their Amazons and whatever it is, they sat in a garage and they toiled like crazy, right? They toiled like crazy. Are they having fun?
Most probably,
I think you can have fun until you're 90 if you so wish, right? But your foundation can only be built time. And you have to focus whatever it takes. 10, 15, 20 years, do it.
So actually that makes a lot of sense. And that's why it's very important to know, like, if this is a focus, because I don't know, maybe people are built differently. Who knows? When you're growing up, you want to know all these games, right? And it's called childhood. But there's this kid who feels like, you know what? This is not so important for me. Maybe what is important is the books, is to understand math, is to understand all these subjects that I'm learning. And also to form that focus at early stage for you. What is that? Because there's some people, their parents guide them, tell them, you know what? You can have all this. And, at a later stage, if you miss this, you can actually recreate it. And it's not something that you're missing. There's someone who actually doesn't have that moral compass of like, focus on this is not important. What was that for you? Did you just decide it by yourself, or there were some mentors or parents or guardians who did that for you?
It's a question. And it's a tough question, because you have to try to go all the way back. And again, I know I'm going to repeat this word. It could be luck. Because all of you, or maybe your siblings, or you in the same age, same age. Why is it that you or this that takes a different path from everybody else? I don't think it's because you're more intelligent or you're more this or you're more that. It's just how things add up for you and how you're living. Of course, there's nature, right? Which is your genes, who you are, or your DNA. But I still think that there's a little bit of luck involved, right? In terms of how our circumstances conspire to put you in a certain spot, right? And therefore, that just becomes your journey. There's very little you can do with it. Okay, first of all, look at me, right? I wouldn't be the biggest guy in the estate, right? Or I was, for sure. I can tell you for free, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm not going to be there, then I need to have something else.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right?
That makes a lot of sense.
I've got to have something. I'm going to sharpen something else,
True,
right?
true. Yeah.
And how far do I take that? Sharpening is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But also, the high school we went to as well was a very disciplined high school. Let's put it that way as well, right? So school does matter, especially early school. I think even up to today, my sporty nature, right? I love these half marathons that I do as regular as I can.
Yeah.
It's twice or 3 times a month. It's because, our head teacher used to wake us up at 5 a.m. to go run.
Yeah.
Right? So that just puts me in a certain sport that, we had to do that. And then the school, of course, had so many other sporting things you had to do. You had to do hockey, you had to do rugby, you had to do running, of course, I just mentioned, you had basketball, tennis, karate. So you every quarter or every, 2 quarters, you're joining something else new. So that's kind of like puts you in a certain level of discipline of how you look at yourself. But moving on beyond that childhood part, there's just some fundamentals that stick with you. That say, this is the person I want to be. And I started earlier on when I was a teenager to start drawing what I call the 15-20 year. That
at what age?
know, basically I think when I was about 12, 13.
Okay.
So I knew what I wanted to be in 15 years. And every single year, that 15 years starts counting again.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So by the time I'm 15, I know what I want to be when I'm 30. When I'm 20, I know what I want to be when I'm 35. Like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Did you write it down? Did you have like some records?
No.
Or is just in your mind?
It's not something I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not me. If I have to write that down, then there's something wrong with me.
I see. Because
it's what I'm living on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
I don't need to write that down. I'm like, is this helping me go there or not? Now, if it's not helping, I know, thank you, right?
Yeah.
So
you're telling guys who write, now you're going to the new year, who write New Year resolutions.
Right.
There's something.
No, but how can I have a resolution? I mean, I know what I'm supposed to do next year. I knew it 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So why would I need to write it?
For sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
There's no point, right? So I know what I'm supposed to be doing next year. And I knew it 15 years ago.
There's something I said about that in one of the engagement with the young guys.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll hear this and they will affirm to it. Now, doctor is saying it.
No, it's by the way, it's very interesting. When you put it that way, when you actually plan ahead like that, things surprise you.
Yeah, because everything aligns to
exactly. So I said I wanted to be, so when I was 20, right? Remember I'm working at Siemens, right?
At 20?
Okay. Yes, I am. So, and I'm looking at this multinational, I'm saying,
yeah.
And I said, I'm going to be an MD.
Right? But not specifically Siemens.
Which one it is? Like I said, your journey can change, but it's going to be a multinational.
Okay.
It's not going to be a company like Gilbert and Sons company. Okay, that's why multinational. I really meant a proper multinational. And I said, I'm going to be MD, the GM, or the leader of a kind of company by 35. And it happened before I was 35. Right? Didn't know which company it was when I was 20. No, but I was very, very clear that I'm looking at how these guys are leading this company when I'm 19, I'm 20, I'm 21. I'm seeing how they're leading these kind of companies. I'm like, I'm going to be an MD of such a company, and I'm going to have phenomenal growth for that company when I'll be in charge, and it will be astronomical. And guess what? It happened.
Yeah.
Right before I was 35. So when you put those goals, you align everything, right? And you take no prisoners in that journey, right? So I knew, okay, great. For me to be there, I need to have...
Wait a minute, Dr.
Sorry, what?
What do you mean by you don't take any prisoners? And this actually brings me back to another fundamental question. Because when you're at 20, I'm assuming either you're almost completing your high school or you have already completed, you're joining your university. So already you know what you have, what it's going to bring to you, right? If you got an A in KCSE, of course, at the end of the day, maybe I'll be somewhere. And since you don't want to speak so much on that, at this point, were you in high school or at 20? You just completed high school?
Yeah, let's say we had just completed.
Yes, so you knew your grades were okay.
Yeah, but in my opinion, grades
Don't matter. What grade what that grade that is? Which grade
I
is
think
that?
even an F is fine. I mean, that's just somebody else telling you got an F based on everybody else and
Yeah.
on a set piece.
True.
It doesn't
Yeah.
crucify your life. To
From
be
that
honest.
point of view,
Doesn't
it
crucify
doesn't
your life.
matter.
Yes.
But if I have an A,
Right.
it matters a lot because there's so much I can do with an A as opposed to someone who has an F. Take it this way.
Got it.
So I have an F here. One of the things that F says that I failed. And that's how our education system is defined. And I'm having this conversation on how our education judges everyone using the same, measure. Whereas you're not all...
MK, can I just cut you short?
Yeah.
In any interview I've heard, right? For all these interesting opportunities,
Yeah.
nobody has ever asked me my KCSE score.
For sure.
Nobody ever asked. Nobody asked me for my KCPE score. So I got it there. I got this A, but nobody, asked me about it.
Yeah.
What they care is what I can do for that farmer, right?
Yeah.
And what I've done in my last 5 years.
That's very, very important.
And
yeah.
where is my network that can help them grow? That's all.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked me
Yeah.
about what is it you got your case. Yes. What are you doing with yourself? What have you done for the last 5 years? What knowledge do you have? How can you help our company move
The
from here to
portfolio
here to
side of
here to
things.
here? Nobody has ever asked me that one. That's what I'm saying. I think those report cards, right, should not be a death sentence to anybody. Right? Whether it's you got an A or you got an F, it's immaterial. We just have to have a way of arranging people, I think, in society, right? That kind of gives us order. And I think that order, is more for the working class. You want you want to create workers. And therefore, you need some order when you arrange workers. You're going to be an accountant, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. Then we can have a functioning society where we generate productivity. But from a leadership, I think the only couple of qualities one need to be able to know how to inspire people, regardless of whether they got an F or not.
People skills.
Inspiration. Can you inspire people? Can you lead people by inspiration?
Yeah.
Can you make people believe in themselves?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because someone with an A, with a first-class honors, will not believe themselves.
Yeah.
But you can make them believe in themselves and achieve wonders.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Second, do I know how to deploy capital? If I'm given $100, I make that $100, $1,000,
Yeah.
$20,000,
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Or I'll take that $100
Yeah.
and put it in a bank and hope, or finish it.
Mm.
Deploy capital correctly.
Yes.
The second skill you need. Other skill you need is the ability, right,
Yeah.
to build networks.
Yes.